to the Rant Live. Welcome to the Rant Live, everyone. Today's Monday, December 6th, the first Monday of the CBA lockout. What a joy. And we're here. We have Ethan Roberts today, right-hand pitcher currently for the Iowa Cubs, who, as you may know, was added to the 40-man roster on November 19th. And we're going to bring Ethan right in. It looks like Ethan has his baby with him. Let's see what's going on there.
Yeah.
Look at Ethan being a dad. That's awesome.
Good doing my duties this morning.
Wow, man, you're multitasking. That's you're giving a whole new meaning to multitasking right there.
That's right.
This is officially our second baby. This is our second baby that we've had on the show. Alec Mills. Remember that Alec Mills had his son on right after he was born. So both. It's supposed to be a Tennessee thing, right? Because Millsy's from Tennessee. Is that how you guys do it there? We just have babies in the videos?
I know, right? We just knock them out and get it done.
No, that's awesome. John, you want to keep rolling a little bit, or
yeah? So Ethan, man, I mean, you look like you're ready to go, right? For the holidays are right around the corner. I mean, you've got a new baby. You know, you were just added to the 40-man roster. I mean, like, is your head just spinning right now, or how's everything going?
Man, yeah, it's been kind of crazy. I've enjoyed, my time with the Cubs, and I'm glad I continue, get to do that. It was a blessing to get added to that 40-man, and I was on the show. I was on the show earlier, and Greg was asking me, like, compared to the draft, what does that feel like? And I was like, honestly, man, it's really close to the same thing. To me, it's like as big as an accomplishment as the draft is. So I was super excited that they took that next step in my career for me.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I guess it's just a validation of everything you've worked your entire life on, right? It's like
Absolutely.
Getting drafted is a validation, but then being added to the 40-man is really like, I would guess that next step in just saying, everything I've done and everything we sacrificed has been worth it.
For sure. Absolutely. And sacrifice and hard work, goes into that, and then performance goes into that as well. Being able to be out there every day, battling nicks and bruises and catcher stepping on your hand and stuff like that. You just kind of go through all that stuff, and being able to be on the field every day is my number one goal every year, because you give yourself a better chance. So.
Absolutely. And I do want to talk eventually. I do want to get into more about, again, what you've done on the field and everything. But I think, hey, you've got your daughter there. And I know, I guess when we met up with you, when you guys were coming through town with the iCubs. So at the time, you just added your son. He's a toddler. He was there. I know your wife was very pregnant at the time, but I know, your daughter arrived a little bit early. So how was that, trying to balance, baseball with fatherhood there and it was like toward the end of the season, but a bit of a whirlwind. Right. How was that kind of balancing from a mental perspective? That must've been difficult to focus.
For sure. So my son's going to be 3 in February, which is, he's going through his terrible twos at the moment. So that's super fun. But yeah, about the time we saw you, she was right on the edge, man. And there were a couple games where she called me and she was like, you might want to keep your phone in the bullpen because I might have to call you and you might have to come. And I was like, okay. And there's a couple games where I told our pitching coach, RV, I was like, hey, man, I got to bring my phone to the bullpen. Like, I don't know if I'm going to have to leave or whatever. And he was like, no worries, dude. Yeah, whatever. I didn't pitch in either of the games that I was bringing my phone to the bullpen, but yeah, it was crazy. The day she called me, I had pitched the day before, and I was at the gym the next morning, and she called me after I had just gotten out of the gym, and she called me and she goes, are you going to pitch tonight? And I was like, no, I pitched yesterday. What's up? And she was like, I need you to come home. And I was like, okay, what's wrong? And she had developed preeclampsia. So she was 5 weeks early, and it was like kind of stressful for her and the baby to continue it. And so she got induced, and was 5 weeks early. So.
And I was wondering about you because I didn't really think about it much at the time, but I wonder for you, and this goes in general too. The minor league scheduling got changed this past season to where you guys would show up in a new, whether you're at home or it's out. So the series would be 6 days. You're off Monday, you play Tuesday through Sunday, and then travel. Did that make it easier for you, that kind of a schedule of kind of knowing exactly where you're going to be pretty much on any given day? Was that helpful just in general, even beyond the impending fatherhood stuff?
Yeah, so especially when I was in Tennessee, I would go home Sunday after the game. I would drive home, and I would stay Sunday night, Monday night, come back Tuesday if we were at home. And then, like, especially knowing the schedule, knowing exactly where I was going to be, it made it 10 times easier for sure.
And I know, obviously, being and that was a big deal for you, being able to be closer to home at Tennessee. Obviously, Iowa, not quite the same thing once that changes. But I wanted to talk a little bit. We're not quite on the same level as far as our ink. I need to get some more tattoos. But you, I know you're fairly well decorated. But I also know one area where we're kind of the same in that. Because I know your tattoos tell a story, right? And they're based very largely in family and kind of what that's been like. And I know I read a little bit about that from a couple years ago, but could you take us through a little bit of that? Do you have anything else planned? Because I just love to hear about this stuff.
Yeah.
We talk to a lot of guys about their ink. So what does that all mean to you?
Right. So right across my wrist, I have "Love is Patient," and that's from my wife. She has "Love is Kind" on her wrist. So love is patient, love is kind. On the inside of my forearm, I have a cow skull, and that one and one more are really, really important to me. That connects with my grandparents and my great grandparents. Me and my grandfather, I grew up in a little town called Quebec. So I'm from, Sparta. Sparta's the White County is the county, and then it's like Sparta, Doyle, Quebec. I was like way down here, down south, and we're back in the boonies. And we had some beef cattle and stuff that we had raised, and he played a big part in, like, kind of who I am, I guess. He taught me so much, and he passed away when I was 12 of cancer, and that one's kind of for him. And then up on my arm, I have tiger lilies with kind of like a red background, and that was from my great grandmother. She was awesome. She was like my best friend. And that was kind of the flowers we used on her casket for her decoration and stuff. And my grandmother she planted one. It grows back every single year, and she sends me a picture. It's in the summer every year of that red tiger lily. Every time.
That's awesome.
That's very cool.
But yeah, there's every one I have tells a story. The eagle on the outside of my forearm, like, I got one offer out of college, and it was to Tennessee Tech, and I had the greatest time there. Had one of the best coaches in the country, who actually just came back, by the way. So I'm excited to go see him. But I've got that for that, and then on the inside of, like, my bicep area, I've got like a mechanical horse, like a Mustang, like a Ford Mustang logo, and that's for my wife's grandfather. Me and my wife have been together for a while, like sophomore year of high school, a while, and he's super awesome. His name was Sammy, and he had this '99 Mustang that he would take everywhere, and he took it to shows and stuff, and took it to Bristol, took it to the Salt Flats in Utah, and all this stuff. And we kind of connected in that way because I enjoy cars and stuff like that. And when he was going through all that stuff, he was like, "I just want to keep this in the family. Is there anybody that'll take it?" And I was like, waiting around to see if any of her family would say anything, and nobody said anything. And I was like, "Yo, Sammy, I'll take care of it for you." And he was like, "Would you really?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You sure you're not too busy?" I was like, "No, not at all." And so that's kind of how that one came about. Super cool.
That's awesome. I kind of want to touch back on something. So you had mentioned that, only one offer coming out of high school, right? And fairly, it's not like you're having to travel too far, so fairly close. But I think it's fair to say, right? You're not a big dude
Right.
You know, you're not Tyler Glass now or somebody like that who's coming out 6'8", right? But so I would guess, maybe you can confirm this or not. It feels like maybe you've been a little underestimated because of a few things, and I don't know, has that put a chip on your shoulder or kind of motivated you as you've gone through your playing career?
Oh man, absolutely. I showed up even at a mid-major Division I school like Tech. Like my class was some big dudes, and
Yeah.
I showed up and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to fight to even put the ball in my hand. And that I connected with Marcus with his brand, HDMH, and that's
Mm-hmm.
another one of the tattoos I have on my elbow. It kind of got me through that time. It gave me motivation through that time in college, and I mean, I still use it today. Like we got the beasts you see today, like Marquez and Cole Franklin and all those guys. Like they're massive, and I want to compete just like they compete and try and throw just as good as they throw. And it just kind of put a chip on my shoulder at that moment. And college was kind of like the starting point for that to get that started. And I've just always connected with his movement and his brand, and now I kind of follow along his footsteps. Like it's super cool to see what he does, like with that brand in the community, and like he sponsored a team in the Cape. He sponsored the Orleans Firebirds with their jerseys. He does travel ball jerseys and stuff like that with that brand. So it's just like it's like a whole movement now, and I wear it proudly. People are like, dude, what in the world is that on your arm? That looks kind of weird. And I'm like, dude, I'll tell you about it, you know. But going through that, yeah, it's like I'm 5'9", $180, and I'm gonna compete just like a 6'9", 250 guy, and pitch just as well, and try and get outs just as well, and be just as good as a teammate and everything. So.
And if folks, you know, if you're watching this live or if you're listening to it afterwards, you know, that's Marcus Stroman's got that brand. It was height don't measure heart, right? That
Yeah.
And so again, Marcus Stroman, hey, there's a connection, right? I don't know if anybody's heard. He's now the Cubs pitcher. So that's now I don't know if you're doing the handstands with the bicycle leg stuff that he was showing off. I was my son's team, we had a practice yesterday and we were working on we were indoors, you know, working on a lot of core stuff and some sprints and things. And I should, you know, coach he's got him on a text chain. He has like a workout that he sends him to do 3 times a week. And so I said, hey coach, can I have him do this workout? And I was showing them and they were all kind of like, whoa, you know, he's just 13. Like, oh, I don't think I can do that, coach. I can't even do that laying on my back. But no, I know one of the things, you know, and you've shown a lot of those videos and I've seen some stuff. One of the things that has always jumped out about your performance, and this isn't something that people can necessarily see on the field, but when you track this stuff and you look at spin rate, I know that's something that you take a lot of pride in, that you've really focused on. And my understanding is that you actually have the spin rate record at Vanderbilt, despite the fact that you did not attend Vanderbilt, but you just kind of showed up and so I, you know, what did you just like show up? It's like mic drop, right? Bam,
Yeah.
set the record. See you guys later. And again, I thought that was kind of interesting too, because Vandy fairly well known for turning out some decent ball players. So, what has that been something? And I know that spin rate's only something we've really been able to track for the last few years. It's not like it's been around forever, right?
Right.
But is that something you've always been able to do, is just manipulate the ball that way, or is that something that you've only focused on recently and tried to develop?
Yeah, so going back to like when I was in high school, I threw a ton of fastballs. Like that's the pitch that I always would throw, just bang, 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 just like anybody else. But I would get swing and misses and not really know how I get swing and misses, especially when I go play like summer ball and stuff like that. I'm playing, you know, higher level talent and stuff, and I'm still getting those swing and misses. And it's like I really don't know how. You just keep pitching, doing the same thing, and it's like if it's not broke, don't fix it. So you just keep throwing it. And the first time I really realized it was, you know, when going to college, like we didn't have the technology like that, and the only 2 places we would get numbers from was Tennessee and Vanderbilt because we played them every year. and I think it was my sophomore season, and the guy that was in the booth at the Vanderbilt game was Kyle Wright's older brother, Mitchell, and we actually hired him that offseason. And like you said, I live super close to Tech, so I would go there and do my throwing and stuff like during the offseason stuff. And he got hired, and he was out there doing some field work, and he was like, "Oh, hey, you're the spin rate guy," and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "You broke that record at Vanderbilt last year," and I was like, "I did what?" He's like, "Yeah, you spun a fastball at like 3K at Vanderbilt," and I was like, "I don't really know what you're talking about, but can you explain?" And he kind of told me about it, and I was like, "Well, that's pretty cool, I guess." But yeah, those two places were really the only places we would get data from. And like later on, we went to regional and then super regional and stuff. We got more data, but yeah, it was super crazy to know that, and then being able to carry that. Like, I've always done it. It's not something that I'm like, I'm going to work on my spin rate this offseason. Like, it just kind of comes, just being able to maintain it with one, different baseballs, and two, trying to add velocity and maintain that. I'm still, around 26 to 2,900 on my fastball. So that's exactly, kind of where I want to be with it. With the low approach angle and the cut ride and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just kind of been, God given, I guess.
Yeah, that's is that something that you noticed? I mean, I guess let me go back and ask this. So at what point, right? Because everybody develops very differently. We see guys, we're going to be talking to Max Bain next week, and that's a guy, again, lightly recruited, undrafted, completely overhauled his pitching style and really didn't hit the radar until he was into his 20s. And then you get some guys who are just, I mean, you could be Bryce Harper and you're on the cover of Sports Illustrated, your sophomore, junior year in high school because you're just a freak, right? But was there a point, be it Little League or high school or whatever, when you kind of figured out, like, you know what, I'm pretty good at this game. I might be able to keep playing at the next level. When did that kind of strike you?
Yeah, so I played all sports until I was in 6th grade. I was getting absolutely ran in both of the other two, and you can probably guess what those were, basketball and football. I was getting absolutely torched. I would compete. I was the little guy, the little point guard or whatever. But, man, it was just like, I don't know if I can keep up with these dudes anymore. And from about 7th or 8th grade on, I played pretty much year-round baseball, shortstop and pitch. And I've really, really disciplined myself. Me and my dad would go over to the building, our facility for the high school, every night, whether it was throwing, whether it was hitting, whether it was whatever. And just being around the game and being in, just teaching yourself the discipline of getting up and going to a building to do that. Like, it just still sticks with you, you know what I'm saying? So being able to, from 9th grade on, knowing how to and what to do and sacrificing the time to train for one sport kind of set me up for I credit to my dad for my work ethic. Like, I would be in there playing video games, he'd be like, "All right, let's go hit." And I don't hit anymore.
You're describing my life right now back to me, by the way. But anyway,
but continue. It was like not the hitting part of it. It was just like the getting off your butt and getting up and going and doing something. The work ethic part, like, that's huge. And him teaching me that at a young age kind of developed into the pattern of life I have now. So
I feel good about hearing that. It makes me, but my son would be the same way. It's like, well, but Dad, Fortnite just is coming about the new season of Fortnite. I was like, dude, you got plenty of time. Believe me, you can play plenty of it. But it is kind of fun to see. But I know, one of those things, and obviously, it started to really pay off, right? You've talked about that clearly. Whether it's carrying that chip and using your natural talent as well and everything that's been that you've worked through, I think that really showed off. Obviously, you dominated there at AA this past season, made it up to AAA. But what did you notice, in terms of, and obviously, in between there, you had an entire year that you had to miss of
Right.
playing at least, highly competitive. I know you could work out on your own and whatnot, but what was that like? First of all, just getting back into the game, period. And then what kind of differences did you notice making that jump from AA then up to AAA?
Yeah, so I got hit around a little bit my first 2 in AA, man. I was like, what in the world? And it's just the game atmosphere is a little different than a spring training game or throwing to a cardboard cutout all off season. But you kind of have to adjust mentally and kind of your attack plan for a hitter. The biggest thing for me and I kind of settled in AA and I had a good year there and kind of figured it out, but AAA took me a minute. When I got there, I was talking to Leaper, and he was like, "Dude, I can throw a slider on the top of the plate, and they'll swing 0-0." He said, "I wasn't getting those swings in AA, but you got to think about like what I learned. Like you got to think about what kind of hitters you're facing, and those guys in AAA, man, like they'll want one pitch, and they will sell out for one pitch, no matter if it's on the top of the plate, like Leaper was saying, or if they want that pitch, they're gonna swing at it. It don't matter." Whereas in AA, you got prospects and stuff that are, they're trying to work at bats, they're trying to work deep counts, and they're trying to get their stats where they need them to be and stuff like that. Guys in AAA, man, they're trying to hit the long ball, they're trying to hit for slug. Obviously, they're trying to hit for average, but if they get their pitch, man, they're swinging. And I got to where I would you try and nibble the zone, especially because you go up to a new place, you go up to a new league, and you're like, man, I got to feel this out a little bit. So you try and nibble the zone because you don't want to get hit. You fall behind, and then you got to hit the zone, and then they freaking hit a double on you, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just wasted 5 pitches on this guy, and he's on second base. And you do that 3 times in a row, and you're like, okay, I got to change something up. So that's kind of where I had to take a step back for a second, and I was like, this is different. I need to kind of dive into the scouting report, and Scott Efros was a big one for me on that. Like he kind of helped me out with that. But you got to kind of learn how to pitch, if that makes sense. Like you can't just go up there and whatever the catcher calls, chuck it. Like you got to kind of have a plan for each guy because they also have a plan against you, and they also work their own plan. So it was a lot more preparation for me than AA was. And I kind of had to figure that out. And I feel like there at the end, I'd figured it out and I was rolling. And then I came home and I was like, well, okay, well, I'll just do it again next year, whatever. But yeah, man, I kind of got where I wanted to be the last, 3, I think it was like 3 outings. I really got where I wanted to be. So.
Well, I know that's it's a good name drop there because Scott Efros, another friend of the program who was able to make his Cubs debut this year, which was really cool. And I got to catch up with him the first time the iCubs came through Indianapolis, and it was that was a really neat deal. Being able to see him come up, I think if all goes according to plan, we'll be having him on the show later this month. So there's a little tease for those who are listening. Obviously, a very different setup for you, but I kind of want to ask you about that because I know he's obviously a very, very different type of pitcher, sidearm, lower velocity, relies on some of that deception, but at least in that part, you're kind of similar. But he was, the Cubs kind of came to him and said, "Hey, listen, we're going to need you to change some things. If you want to continue down this path, here's what you're going to have to do." Has there ever been a time when whether it's the pitching coach or anybody from a team, more from the organizational standpoint, has had to come in and say, "Hey, Ethan, there's a couple things we're seeing here, but you're going to need to change this," or have they pretty much just kind of let you do you this whole time?
For the most part, I just kind of been doing me, but we tweaked my fastball a little bit to try and get a little more ride, and but the one mechanical thing I worked on, which was kind of during COVID, kind of in the middle of that, my back leg was like, my knee was getting over my toe, and I was really just using my quad to push off the mound and kind of sitting in your hip and, getting all the power from your 3 muscle groups. That helped me a ton. And I mean, that's added, 1, 2, 3, whatever miles an hour in one little tweak, plus just, pull downs and stuff like that. They put me in like a velocity group, and there were multiple guys in that group to try and, add a couple miles an hour. But the biggest tweak was James Ogden made it with me, was the kind of feeling my weight in my hip before I commit to the plate, because I was just kind of like lift and go, lift and go, lift and go. And if you go back and look at especially videos that it's like nightmares in my head from like Myrtle, I just kind of like lift my leg, my knee collapses, and I try and push, and it's like I'm throwing 89, and I'm like, that's not gonna cut it. So they kind of helped me out with that on the backside part, and then the velocity program they had us on during COVID was phenomenal. Drive line plyo balls and pull downs and stuff like that.
Nice. And so what's the velo looking like right now? What are we seeing on the radar guns these days?
So on my program, I'm back to like 140 feet at about 70%. So I've got probably another month before I'll be around 95%. So we'll see. I'm feeling really good though.
Okay. Do you have? I know I've seen readings up as high as 96 at least. Where have we seen a bigger number so far?
The fastest I threw was in AA. The July 4th, when I had my July 4th save, which was one of the coolest moments ever, because I had half my town there, man. It was super
nice.
Cool. But I had 96.8 was the top last year.
Okay. So that'll do with about 3K spin. That thing,
right?
if it's got some ride, that'll
My goal for next year is I want to be like, I still had some pitches down that were 91, 92 every once in a while. I want to be like eliminating that. I want to be like 4, 5, 6 touching 7, 8, and I know exactly what I want to do for it. So I'm excited.
Nice. So and it sounds like you've got the plan. I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, Ethan, real quick, can you talk about like that experience of finding out that you made the 40-man roster? Did you get a call from Jed or somebody within the minor league organization? And like, how did you find out? And then like, what was it like with your family?
Yeah, so I was actually supposed to do pitching lessons that day, and I called the people and I was like, "Hey, look, I will give you the worst lesson possible. I promise you I will, because I will not even be there mentally." So I was like, we're just going to cancel lessons for today. I'm just going to hang out at the house. And they were like, no, I totally understand, whatever. They were super cool about it. So we were sitting there, me, my wife, and my kids were just sitting there all day at the house, just waiting. And so about 12 o'clock rolls around, and I texted my agent, and I was like, man, I don't think it's going down. And he was like, bro, they still got time. They haven't put anything in yet. Give it time. I was like, all right, man, whatever. So anyway, I'm sitting there. It's about 3 o'clock, and I'm actually feeding Hallie, and I hear my phone go off, and I'm like, babe, come get her. And I handed her off to her. I picked up my phone and I hung up the call, and I was like, oh no. So I call him back. It was Breslow, Craig Breslow, the pitching development and leader, and so. I called him back and he was like, hey man, I just wanted to, officially say, like, before anything comes out, just invite, just tell you, you made our 40-man roster, and it's exciting. He said, it's not the end of anything. This is actually just the start of, what we have in store for you. So we're excited. And dude, I was just like, whoo. Just like this huge sigh of relief, because I was stressing about it all day, because there was so many good guys in the organization, man, that deserve it as well. And that's what I was kind of going through my head with. Like, business comes down to business. Like, in my head, in my confidence, I know I can help the team win. But so can all these other guys that were up for it. You know what I'm saying? So I at the end of the day, I know it's business. But yeah, I was super anxious about it, because I know every single other guy that was up for it deserved it. So I was excited that they took that next step for me. I was very, very, very happy.
I mean, were you going through all the possibilities of like, man, if I don't make the 40-man and then I get selected in the Rule 5 draft, like, right? Were you staying away from that thought process, or did you go down the road a little bit?
Trying as best I could. So when I do my lessons, of course, dads come and watch and whatever, and they're like, you think you're getting protected? And it's like a constant reminder every day. And I'm like, man, I don't know, man.
Stop asking me.
Yeah, they're like, well, if you don't, you can go through the rule of 5. I'm like, dude, I know that. I get it. You know what I'm saying? I understand how this works. So I just kind of tried to not worry about it. But then you ask my agent, and he's like, man, that kid was wearing me out every day asking me questions. So, yeah, I was worrying about it, but I was trying not to. Yeah, and then, of course, as you know, the Major League side got canceled this year. So that was absolutely nuts. But
And so does your approach going into the offseason now, knowing that you're on the 40-man roster, knowing that you're likely on the cusp of being called up at some point, maybe this coming season, does that change your approach at all with how you do things in the offseason? I mean, knowing that things there's a lockout and all that obviously has to play into your considerations, but
right.
Just wondering about your approach.
Not really anything that I would do different. The way I would describe it is, instead of putting 87 no ethanol gas in my tank, I'm putting jet fuel. That's the only way I describe it.
Yeah, you got to have some adrenaline going through your veins
Absolutely.
every time you get up there,
Dude,
right?
Every time. I mean, since that's happened, I haven't had a day where I've struggled to be like, oh man, I got to go lift. Like, I'm excited to lift. I'm excited to throw. I'm excited to do everything because, like
That's
I said, I got jet fuel in my tank, man. It's happening.
Now that's super cool to hear, you know, and I know we don't want to keep you too much longer. You've literally got your hands full there.
No, dude, she's chilling.
But no, well, this is great. Like I'm
she's
jealous
a good baby.
right now.
I know it.
I don't know if my kids are way past that time. But I don't know if they ever sat still for this long at a time. Maybe it was just me. Maybe they just didn't like me too much. But you know, I guess, you know, obviously we talked about that. Like, who have been, you know, as you've been going through the organization, and you've mentioned a few folks, but who have been those, you know, whether they're teammates or coaches as you've gone along, who you feel have been the most instrumental in kind of helping you along? Because I know a lot of it is about, it's not just about pitching, right? It's about learning the ropes, like you said earlier,
Yeah.
how to check scouting reports, how just to acclimate yourself to this town
Right.
or this team. Who are those individuals who have helped you the most over the last few years?
So I probably have one from every level.
Yeah.
So my first year was in Eugene, and there was a guy there, super cool guy. We got him from the Braves organization, kind of been through that, you know, release, re-sign type thing, any ball stuff, showing me the ropes of how everything works, basically. And his name was Dalton Geeky. He was a super, super, super mentor for me, especially during my rookie season, trying to figure out what happens here, what happens there, you know, moving up, moving down, what has to happen with that, all this stuff. He kind of just was like, here, this is what happens. You know, you're good. Your stuff grows. You just go pitch, stay healthy, and keep doing your thing. And I was like, I can do that, you know, whatever. But he was super confident in me and confident in himself as well. So like, he's a good teammate, you know what I'm saying? So he's not gonna tell me something that I don't need to hear. He was a really good guy. In South Bend, it was most of South Bend when I was there was my draft class, which was super cool. The guy that I would say that helped me a ton in South Bend, just tweaking with pitches. This is kind of physical stuff, but tweaking with pitches, routine, plyos, stuff like that. And I don't know if he'll listen to it. He'll probably hear it and he'll be like, why in the world would I play a role in what he was doing? But sometimes that happens. Like, they don't know that they're helping you out, but they're helping you out. Riley Thompson goes about his business the right way. And I learned a lot from him just because, I mean, he went to Louisville and he kind of knew, you know, I went to Tech, he went to Louisville. It's a totally different atmosphere. But he knew what he was doing, man. The way he went about his business is exactly right. And same thing with Brennan Davis. That dude goes about his business the right way. I mean, he's a big leaguer, dude. Like, everything he does it with a purpose. Takes care of his body, you know, whatever. And that's kind of the stuff that I learned from Riley that year. He just goes about his business. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't worry about nothing. Don't worry about any external stuff. He just does his thing, goes about his business, and whatever. And I thought that was super cool. And then later on in that year, I went to Myrtle, and that's where I kind of adopted my new slider from Chad Hawken.
Mm-hmm.
So Chad, he had been hurt, and he came to Myrtle, and he was like a 95, 90 fastball slider. And I was like, bro, how in the world are you throwing your slider that hard? Like, I don't understand. I can't possibly do that. Like, I want to throw it like 85, but like, I don't know what in the world to do. And he's like, try this grip out, bro. It's the grip I'm going to use for the rest of my life. It's literally my favorite thing ever. And so he kind of helped me with that. And then that's when Scott came into the picture. He had just went from here to here. And I kind of picked his brain about like what he had to sacrifice and what he had to do to get to that, which was super cool. So then we have COVID, and then I start the year in AA. And dude, the guy that helped me out the most, honestly, in AA, obviously Scott was there for a little bit. But me and Wyatt Short lived in a camper in AA. I would come back, and we just kind of helped each other out mentally, honestly. Like, I would come back and I'd be like, man, I don't know if I'm going to do this. I don't know if I'm going to do that. And he's like, bro, shut up. You're nasty. You're fine. I got more to worry about than you got to worry about, whatever. And he was awesome, because he had been up to AAA, started the year in AA, but he knows what he's doing, and he knows the way everything works. And there for a while, remember when we were leading the division, and then we lost like all those games straight in the big leagues. So I thought, I was like, man, I might get traded. Like, this ain't good. I don't want to leave. And he was like, bro, I don't think they're going to trade you. They got something in store for you. And he would kind of like calm my nerves a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And I would do the same thing for him. Like, we would just sit, we didn't have TV. We didn't have Wi-Fi. We didn't have nothing at this camper. And we would just sit and talk till like 1 or 2 in the morning after the game. And he was a guy that, got me through some stuff when I was like, man, just worried about everything, anxious about everything. And I just didn't know, what was going to happen. And then in AAA, it was Dakota Mekas, Efros, Leaper, all those guys that had kind of been there, done it, and just kind of showing the dude that doesn't know what he's doing how to do it. You know what I'm saying? So
I guess the only thing that remains then is the next level, and then we'll have to figure that out. So I mean, what have you allowed yourself much time to think about? I mean, obviously, everybody who's in your shoes and everybody who's coming up even through high school and even through college, like, there's a dream to play in the majors. But have you allowed yourself to think much about what that's going to be like, being able to put on the Chicago Cubs uniform and pitch at Wrigley?
Man, it's going to be one of the best days of my life. I've dreamed for this moment since I was, probably 9. I've been wanting this to happen since I was probably 9, and I'm still not there. But that's why I have jet fuel in my tank, bro. Like, I'm ready. I'm going to go to spring training and show them why they put me on the 40-man, why they trust me, and I'm going to show them why I trust them, and I'm going to make them trust me even more. So it's like Stroman was saying the other day, man, this is the most iconic, historic organization and place to play in the world. Like, I honestly don't know what it's going to feel like, and it's hard to even fathom what it would feel like to pitch on that field. But
have you seen Wrigley Field in person?
I went one time. So I was in South Bend, and we had our All-Star break, and my family came up for the All-Star break to hang out with me, and my wife's side of the family, and we all took a trip to Chicago to just kind of see around and stuff. And I called somebody at the field, and they kind of let us in and go look around and stuff. And that was when my son was about 6. I think he was probably 7 months old. And we got his picture sitting in the outfield grass and, all that stuff. But that was the first time I'd ever seen it. And you walk in there, man, and you're just like, this looks huge. But then you walk around the bases and you're like, wait, they're the same length apart. The mound is still 60 feet 6 inches. And I sat there and I was talking to my wife, and I was like, this is the same size field I play on. it feels all right now, but you see it and you're like, holy cow, this is huge. And it can be a little overwhelming, but I'm excited. And once I get to that point, I experience it for the first time, it'll feel like, I belong. So.
Yeah, we can't wait to see that happen, actually, and hopefully it does happen this next season. Hopefully we get past the lockout and everything, and spring training starts on time. I live in Arizona, and Evan comes down a lot to visit me during spring training, so we'll be out there. So if you hear some goofballs yelling your name, it could be us from the outfield.
Yeah,
there you go. They make us feel special.
Oh yeah, man.
But yeah, I mean.
I can't. It's just hard to describe the moment. You're like, I had my dad came up to me the other day and he was like, has this even hit you yet? Because dude, my town is like 5,000 people in the city limits, and like I was the first one from my high school to go to a Division I school in like 25 years.
Wow.
So like it's just, he's like, has this even registered in your head yet? And I looked at him and I went, no. I was like, I don't get it. But all I know is I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. And I'm going to give everybody what they want because it's going to happen. They took a chance on me, and I'm going to prove to them that it was a good chance. So it's just a lot of the stuff, like kind of, the videos floating around there about Stroman, like positive self-talk, meditation, all that stuff is huge for me. And the guy who taught me that, I've been doing that since college. The guy that taught me that was actually my head coach's dad. He volunteered. He didn't collect a check. He just volunteered at my college and stuff. And he would have us, as a team, go out in the outfield and sit there and do meditation and visual and stuff like that. And we'd have one-on-one sessions with him and stuff like that. It was big, man. It just completely elevated my game, and I completely understand what he's saying because I've been right there doing it for the past 6 years, and it's helped me, a ton. Being able to, and it's hard to get yourself into that spot. You have to practice it just like you practice everything else. Like your brain's a muscle, and you have to practice just like you do everything else. So getting to that moment where you're in like honestly full like relaxation, tranquility, focus mode to get to that point where you're like, holy cow, this is relaxing. Like I feel I'm like I'm at peace. And kind of one of the things that I do is I'll put myself in situations that I would come into. So 7th inning, 1 out, runner on first and second, 1-run ball game. And I work myself out of that situation in a positive note, whether it be a strikeout, whether it be a ground ball, whether it be a pop up, whether it be whatever. So that when you get to that situation, it feels like you've been there 1,000 times. You know what I mean? And it's people will ask, not just me, but guys that go in the same situations as I do, like, you look like you're not nervous. Like you look like you're not. We're nervous. Our hearts are pounding. You kind of black out a little bit, but it feels like you've been there a million times. If you do this, visualization and mental prep and meditation and stuff like that, it helps a lot. Like it's an area of the game that I feel like a lot of people haven't fully grasped yet. And it's something I take pride in that I've been doing for about 6 years and give credit to Matt Braga's dad, Larry. It's awesome.
That is cool. There was my son does some stuff with the Mustard app and Tom House, and they've done early on. They did some webinars with I think it's Jason Goldsmith, I believe. Yeah. And he did a lot with just awareness and like being aware of your body, being aware spatially of things, and even reframing. I think a positive reframing, rather than saying, oh, he just got lucky or this happened. It's like, okay, I did this. It wasn't the greatest outcome, but then to go back and kind of create that scenario again with a positive outcome so that you don't carry the negative forward with you, but you still learn from it. So that's really cool to hear you say that as well, because I think that's so important. Like I said, it's, you gotta have the jet fuel pumping, but at the same time, you got to be able to learn how to control that and remain calm.
Absolutely. And in that, same scenario, like I'm I don't work very fast. Like, you have some guys that'll catch the ball and go right back on the mound, catch the ball, go. I walk. I mean, I take the full, whatever 15, 17, 18, 20 seconds that they give me on the little time clock, shot clock. I take my time because I know that I want to be fully invested for every pitch that I throw. And there are times, like a starter wants to work fast and get his pace going. But like for me, like I want the time to make sure that I'm fully invested for the pitch that I'm about to throw. And I don't work super, super fast. And most of it's because our coach kind of, when I was in college, he told us this thing that I do every time, man. Whenever I get the pitch called, I will visualize that pitch exactly where I want it to go. In third person, I see myself in third person. I'll visualize exactly where I want that pitch to go. And I see it. And I see the last 5 feet of that ball flying through there and hitting exactly where I want it to be. And then I do it. And that helps me so much, being able to be fully invested in one pitch at a time.
I love it.
And
I love it.
It's cool you mentioned Tom House. I actually have been to one of his camps in Dothan, Alabama before.
Nice.
My agent and him are really, really good buddies in the National Pitching Association.
Yeah.
But Tom is a dog, man. We were talking about like his towel drills and stuff that he does, the Fogels and all that stuff. And he was like, I want to show you a video of Tom Brady doing them. And he gets out his phone and he's like, here, somebody find Tom Brady's name. And somebody grabs his phone and they go scrolling through his messages trying to find Tom Brady's name in his messages. And he had left like Andrew Luck and Drew Brees on red. And I'm like, dude, what in the world? You text him? You don't even respond. Like, they had sent him like 5 videos and they didn't even respond to him. And I was like, man, this dude is a dog.
Yeah.
But he had videos of like Tom Brady doing towel drills at like 5 a.m. at a rinky-dink high school. And I was like, man, that shows you work ethic in Brady. Super cool.
Yeah, and it's one thing, and I'll give a plug here for that too, because Coach House, man, he does every week. He does an hour-long live Zoom call with all these kids that anybody who's on that Mustard app can just get on, and you're sitting there literally just talking to Tom House, and he's doing that with, my son's had his pitches broken down, and I'm like, this is like you said, literally has Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, that all like on speed dial, could call any of them at any moment.
Yep.
And Nolan Ryan, you name it, and here he is. He's working with 10, 11, 12-year-old kids to help make them better. It's pretty cool, and a lot of that stuff it's been a lot of fun, man. It's that's pretty cool, I think. So, and then to have that connected.
He's an awesome dude. He is fully invested in youth, and I saw where he came up with that Mustard app, and I was like, that is freaking legit. He's a dude, man. He's awesome.
It's a lot of fun, and I don't. Before I let you go, I do want to, I want to share this, and I know a lot of people may have heard it already, but I just, speaking of being invested in young kids, and I'm wearing the sweatshirt today that we got from the fundraiser from when my daughter was in the hospital, and it's coming up on, let's see, today's the 6th, so her second surgery will be 2 years ago on the 9th, and so I just kind of wanted to share. So like Ethan and I have gotten to know each other a little bit over the last few years here, of course, but just a couple years ago, I got just a direct message on Twitter just asking if there was something that he could do. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together. So I didn't even think like, oh, this is Ethan Roberts. He's a pitcher in the Cubs organization. I just was thinking it's some dude. And I was like, yeah, and here's the address. You can send a card. And she gets a card, and it had an actual card, like a get well soon, and then an autographed baseball card. And my wife called me up because my wife was staying out with my daughter in St. Louis at the time, and I was staying with my son here at home. And she was like, who's Ethan Roberts and all this? And I was like, oh, wait, it's that Ethan. Like, I know who this guy is. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, again, that you took. And I know, again, I think it might have been, I guess it would have been the off season at that time, so it was December, but to take a few moments to do that, that just meant a tremendous amount to us as a family, and especially with everything that was going on at the time. And her wall was just decorated with all this stuff. And to see how people kind of reached out from that still gives me just so much happiness now, despite how bad that time was for us. And so to be able to kind of have stepped out of that and have some time away from it now, and then to be able to go and bring the family to watch you pitch,
Yeah.
Well, we didn't get to watch you pitch because you didn't pitch any of the games that we went to. But we did get to catch up with you. I know I've thanked you before. I don't want to put you on the spot with that, but I did want to thank you again, and just to share with folks kind of where that comes from, and just to say that we're pulling for you so hard, and it's just been really, really cool to follow your journey in that time since then, and to see what you're doing, and just to let you know how proud of you we are, and how proud we are to be able to know you and follow you in that. So I seeing you here, with your own daughter, and I know that was tough early on. So I'm glad everything's going really, really well. And I cannot wait. Outside of your family, I'll say there's probably not too many people out there that want to see you get that call to Chicago, and I sincerely hope I can be there when that happens.
Well, man, I couldn't honestly thank you enough. And like the biggest part of that is, as I hold my daughter, I couldn't imagine being in your shoes, bro. Like, that's unbelievably tough on you and her and your family. And I just knew that if there was any, I didn't know like who was staying, or if I could send a gift card for something. And I was like, you know what, he's a baseball guy. I'm just gonna send him a card and see if that helps. And the reason why, especially you guys caught my eye, it's like I just cannot imagine going through that, because like you want to be there with her, but you can't. You both can't be there at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And it was so hard for you guys, and I know how hard it was for y'all. And I look back, and you wish you can do more, but like I'm just glad that she's in the spot she's in now, doing better, and I'm so glad I got to see her. That was so cool.
Yeah.
But man, I just know that if I was in that spot, I would want somebody to do something like that for me. And that was one thing that my grandfather was he was really high on was the golden rule, and it's treat people how you want to be treated. So I knew that once I started following you and following everything you do, and I was like, I got to do something for them, because this is just absolute. I mean, it's just it's a terrible situation, and it happens. I swear it happens to the best people, man. But God gives his toughest tasks to his hardest warriors. So I knew that I wanted to do just at least a little something. It wasn't much at all, but it's just like I said, I couldn't imagine being in that situation, and I'm super glad we connected.
Absolutely.
And Evan, I mean, the way you handled the situation and your family handled it was remarkable.
Yeah.
I don't want to start crying here on the show because that's not what I'm about, but there have been really times cool. That it's been emotional for me, so I can only imagine how emotional it was for you.
Yeah, no, and it's my wife's birthday was on December 3rd, and my daughter's first surgery was on the 2nd, so it's like it was really that was a really fun time, but it was great. But it's been the coolest thing out of this the whole thing though is that we've been able to we were able to raise a lot of money, get a lot of donations, things like that for Shriners, for other kids. Who thankfully my wife was able to stay out there, and we were able, I was able to drive back and forth, and we could afford to do some things in the meantime. Not every kid who goes there has that opportunity, right? There's a lot of them who go there because, or who are there. There's who don't have their support like that. And so to be able to have that from everybody and to be able to kind of signal boost them a little bit was super cool. And like I said, it's been really neat. And, now she's in high school and she's 15, and there's not much that I do right in her eyes anymore. So you got, look, you got some time yet. You got a while before you've got to deal with that. So so we'll see. But no, it's I tell you what, out of everything else, is we complain a lot of times about how you get weird comments on the website or the Facebook posts, or somebody tweets mean things or whatever. But in general, being able to be kind of connected, virtually like this in certain ways has brought out a lot more good than bad. So, again, I just thank you for taking some time for us here. I know you've got some other stuff going on, so I'm super stoked that we got to bend your ear, and I'm really excited for, again, everything that you've got in front of you, and being able to kind of carve out that career. I think it's going to be cool, because once you get up there, man, I don't think they're going to have a real easy time getting rid of you. I think you're going to be able to stick around for a while.
Well, I mean, and I've been in this organization. I was drafted in 18, so gosh, it'd be my 4th year, but minus the COVID year. But man, I honestly don't think there's a better organization to play for. You know, the way you get treated, the access you have to certain things, like I really don't. Like the people there are great. I've been blessed with great teammates, and it's a blessing to play for this organization. For anybody that doesn't know what goes on the inside, man, it's awesome.
That's great. That's yeah. Like I said, man, I can't wait to see you take the next step. Looking forward to it. Hopefully we get that we get baseball back before too long. We don't need to worry about having to wait too long on that. So you can get down there to spring training and show everybody what's up. So
that's right. I'm excited, cool. Man. Hopefully we're on time.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Thanks for joining us, Ethan. It has been a total pleasure getting to know you and talking to you today. The best of luck to you going forward. And again, we can't wait to see you in Wrigley Field.
Thank you guys so much, seriously, for having me. I enjoy doing these, man, because all you guys are super cool, and I'll do anything I can for you guys. So I appreciate you guys.
Awesome. Cool, man.
Thanks, man.
All right,
have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, man. See you.
See you.
All right. That was cool. Yeah. That was really cool. It's always cool getting to know these guys, you know, just beyond the field and experiencing a little bit of their journey with them. So I think that was pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like I said, it's really neat. You know, I think one of the things in our position, you know, outside of, like, obviously I've got, you know, that personal connection there too, but I think it's cool to have been able to, whether it's, again, we'll have Max on next week, hopefully Scott Efros here later in the month. We've talked to them on here before, but it's really cool to have these guys on and then to be able to follow that journey and check back in with them, you know, a year later and see, hey, what happened here, and to follow, you're not just looking at box scores and seeing, oh, this guy was promoted or here's what he did this day, but to actually very literally pick their brains on what got him here and what's been working for him. I think that's that to me is just one of the most fun things. And then, you know, again, to follow them and now that we got baseball back, to actually go and be able to watch these guys. Like I obviously didn't get to watch Ethan pitch. I didn't get to watch Efros pitch when he was here either. None of these guys I actually get to see, but I got to catch up with them, got to watch Max pitch this last year, and I'm looking forward to talking to him about that again here next week. But to me, that's just really cool, is to make these guys people and not just prospects in the system that are ranked in a certain spot or whatever. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah. And as you mentioned, we're going to have Max Bain on, the guy with the coolest name in all of baseball, next Monday. And so that should be a show worth tuning in for. We'll have another show just going over what's going on in the world of the Cubs, which we'll make some stuff up.
Yeah,
it's going to happen on Friday.
Yeah.
We'll create a story or two so we can have something to talk about. But until then, thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a good week. We'll see you.
See ya.